Okay, last time we learned how we could add a background image, change the link colors, change the default text color, and added some images. Well, those images were not in line with the text. They were sort of outside the text tags. Well, we can add images within the paragraph tags, within the other font tags, text tags if you want. So I'm going to add an image anywhere within this section. I'm going to click within there. We saw how we could insert images by going through Insert Image. We could also come through the Insert Panel or Insert Window, go through Common, Image, and find an image through there. Well, we can also come through our Files panel if we know the name of the image we want. This one's Jefferson Z. I can click and drag that image right out here within the text. Okay. I'll reset my workspace. Okay. Well, you see, if you just put an image within the text, Dreamweaver treats that, and it is treated as text, so it knocks out the line of text and gives you a lot of this ugly space. Used to be you could easily make a selection to wrap the text around, put some padding or border around this image. Well, now we have to do that with CSS. This is going to be the only CSS rule we use for this website. Our next project we'll learn a lot more about CSS, so I'm not going to talk too much about CSS. We're just going to add one to this specific image. And then we'll float this image either to the right or the left and put some padding on it in our CSS so the text isn't setting too close to the image. So I selected my image, and down here in the properties, remember when I select anything out here, my properties window changes. So I selected my image. I'll do that a couple times here, maybe. Come on. There we go. And the properties window changes. There's a little icon, a thumbnail of my image down here, and it says ID. I can give my image a specific name. I can call this one Jeff, J-E-F. You can call yours whatever you want, and hit enter. There it is. Now that image has a name, specific name, Jeff. With that specific ID, I can make a rule that applies just to that image, so it doesn't affect all my other images. With Dreamweaver, we have the CSS designer, and I first have to tell Dreamweaver where I want to record the code for this rule. That's called the source. I can come over here and I can push the press or the plus button. I can make a whole new file for that rule. I could attach an existing rule, or I can define that rule or write that code in that page we already have, the HTML page. So I'm going to say define in page. There it is. Now I want to select my image, select the style, that's the page, the HTML page, and add a selector. Dreamweaver is going to automatically try to call it Jeff, which I want it to be. That's my name of my image here. And it puts the hashtag or pound sign in front of your ID. That signifies it's in an ID. So hashtag or pound sign Jeff, and I can hit enter. Now I can add some properties to that rule. I can add some details to that Jeff rule that applies to this image. Okay. If I scroll down, I'm just going to float this image. You have a choice of floating it right or left if you want to wrap text around it. I'm going to float it to the left. There we go. It should automatically move to the left. Sometimes you may have to click off the image and back on, or save this page. Sometimes Dreamweaver doesn't automatically update. Okay. Well, I see it's floated it to the left, but it's still, the text is still too tight around there, and there's some overlap of text. It should not overlap that text. I think once I save this page, it should fix that. Or not. But if I move this image around, it should push that text out of the way. There it goes. I can make my image a little smaller. I can hold the shift key down, grab that corner, maintain the proportions, make it a little smaller. There we go. With that image selected, I got it positioned where I want. The cool thing about floating it left is even if I drag this image all the way over to the right side, it's still going to float it to the left. I drag it over here, it's still going to float it to the left. Okay. Now if I floated it right, it would always float to the right. If I wanted to wrap text around the image, I have to float it right or left. So I have the image selected. I'm coming back here to this Jeff rule I made for that image. I floated it, but the text is too tight. So I want to push the text away from my image a little. And I can do that by adding padding. I'm going to do padding for, say, 20 on the right, 20 on the bottom, and 20 on the top. That way it pushes text away. I don't have to put padding on the left because it's already sort of on there by using that margin. If I put padding on the left, then it would not line up with the text anymore. Okay? Now if I change my mind and I wanted to float this to the right, see how it shoots over to the right here, well then I'd have to go back to that rule, to that Jeff rule, and instead of putting padding on the right, I would put the 20 padding on the left. Okay, that would push the text away on the left. Well, I don't want to float to the right. I decided again I want to float to the left. It's up to you. You can float yours either to the right or the left. Okay, so now when I preview this in Safari, there we go. Here's my images. These two are not in line with text. I'm not in the text. This image is in the text. I made the rule to float to the left, which wraps the text around there and makes it look pretty nice. Okay, let's do that one more time. Well, I'm going to put an image down here. So again, I can position my cursor where I want that image to be placed and insert it, or I can find the image and drag it right in there. I'm going to do my Lincoln zombie image, and I can drag that and place it right in there. And that's a little too big. I want to resize it. Hold the Shift key down, grab that corner and resize it. And I want to float it right or left, but first I want to give it an ID. Click down here, give it a name. I'm going to call it link. Come over here to my style sheet, my CSS designer, click on style. I'm going to add a new selector. There's my Jeff selector from before. I'm going to add a new selector. Link. Okay, let me hit enter or return so I can add some properties or details to my rule. I'm going to float this guy right. There we go. We see he's floated right now. The text is a little too tight. So I'm going to put some padding on the top. You know, usually 15 or more, 10 to 15. I like to do a little bit more space, so I'm going to do 20, a little bit more white space. There we go. And now when I preview this, Safari, you'll see there's my Jefferson picture floating to the left with some padding, and my Lincoln picture floated to the right with some padding. Okay, there we go. Now Dreamweaver, if I click the live view, should show me the correct padding and everything on that. Sometimes if you just stick in the design view, the changes don't always show right away. But if you click the live view or and then click off, then those changes, the correct changes, should be back. All right, so that page is pretty close to done. There's just a couple more things I could do. I can change the alignment. Everything right now is floating left by default. I can highlight my images, my first few images, my title, and my navigation bar. I have those highlighted, and I can do format, align, center, and it centers those if that's what you want to do. Well, I want to center my bottom navigation bar too, so I'm going to highlight those, format, align. You see, you do left, right. I'm going to do center for that guy. By default, it floats left. Okay, good. So it's looking a lot more arranged intentionally. One thing we can also do is add some separation lines, some horizontal rules. Sort of an older school code they don't really use anymore, but we'll see some of the, this is an old school website, so we'll put that in there. And I click to the right of my navigation bar and hit enter. And I can insert through my insert panel. I scroll down on common, then scroll down. There's a horizontal rule that gives me a line It's just a line of separate different sections. And click to the right of my brains, hit enter, add my horizontal rule. Click to the end of that Declaration of Independence section. I'm going to hit enter there. Do a horizontal rule. And I'll do one more after the end of my Bill of Rights. I can hit enter, or I can do a soft enter, which would be Shift enter. It'll give me a soft enter, or soft return. And that doesn't give me a full return. It makes the lines a little bit closer. Makes those horizontal rules a little bit closer. Command Z. I don't want to do that. I can go ahead and hit enter. And do my horizontal rule there. Well, I see that horizontal rule is still in the block quote. So I'm going to take that out. I could click down here and enter and replace it there. But I'm going to do it from the code side just so we can see what the code side does. Let's go back to the code side. There's my HR rule. That's the code for the horizontal rule. I can copy and delete that, come outside of my block quote, hit return, and paste it right there. So I took it from inside that block quote to outside, and it should still look okay here. So I have an extra space there I can delete. And last but not least, I'm going to do one more horizontal rule after my external links. Horizontal rule. I'm going to preview this in Safari to see what it looks like. Okay, so it's pretty done. Looks pretty good. It's pretty close to done. My nice images centered. My background texture. Differentiated the text with different colors and font sizes. Separated my sections with my horizontal rules. What I want to do is pay attention now that everything's sort of consistent. If there's a horizontal rule with the H2 code text underneath it, I have a specific amount of space. I want that to be the same down here. Horizontal rule, specific amount of space, and that H2. So it should be consistent. Same here. Horizontal rule, space, H2. Horizontal rule looks like I need a little more space there to make that consistent, and H2. Okay. So now everything's separated. Looks a lot better, a lot easier to read. Looks like a pretty fun little website now. Looks like I just need a little bit more space here to be consistent with these other sections. Okay. File, save. And I think this page is pretty much done. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm happy with it. Could always come back later and make changes. I'm happy with it now. I saved it. Now I want to make my other pages. Okay, I could start from scratch, but I already have everything laid out here, so why not work from here? So in our next video, we're going to create all of our other pages. And there's my finished page for my home page.